Let's be honest, what's the real reason we all love Antiques Roadshow? Is it the deep dives into the history of 18th century porcelain? Sometimes. Is it learning to spot the difference between Georgian and Victorian furniture? Maybe. But if we're really being truthful, it's for moments like this. It's the dream, isn't it? The fantasy that the strange painting in your nan's attic, the box of old coins your granddad left you, or that dusty jewelry box you inherited, is secretly a life-changing treasure. We watch with bated breath, holding it for the person on screen, hoping for them. We are all in that moment, the person standing in front of the expert, waiting for the verdict. And every so often, a moment happens that is so pure, so genuinely overwhelming, that it breaks through the screen and reminds us exactly why this show is a national treasure. This is precisely what happened during a recent episode at Swansea's National Waterfront Museum. The cameras were rolling, the experts were poised, and two women stepped forward, clutching a small collection of family heirlooms. They weren't expecting much. You could see it in their hopeful but nervous expressions. We've seen that look 1,000 times. They were there to learn a little about their family's past, and if they were lucky, find out the items were worth enough to cover a nice dinner out. What they got, instead, was the shock of their lives. A shock so profound, in fact, that it led to one of the most heartwarming and relatable reactions we've ever seen. A frantic apology to the camera crew for just being too stunned to stand. The expert on duty was the wonderful Susan Rumfitt, a specialist with a keen eye for jewelry. The two women presented their collection, a beautiful, intricate lot of gold and gemstone-encrusted pieces. The collection included 2 elaborate nose rings, a stunning necklace, and a pair of matching earrings, all sparkling with rubies and pearls. The story behind them was just as beautiful as the items themselves. This wasn't some auction house find. This was family. The pieces had been lovingly passed down through the generations. When Susan asked if they knew who had made them, the women shook their heads. There was no branding, no famous designer's mark. They figured the jewels were crafted by local goldsmiths known to their relatives, way back in the early 1900s. This is often where the story ends with a polite, "Well, they're a lovely piece of family history, but the value is minimal." But not this time. Susan's eyes lit up. She explained that while we often look for big makers, this traditional, bespoke style of craftsmanship is incredibly special. It was personal. It was unique. She gently set the stage, almost like a warning. She mentioned that, quite apart from the artistry, the actual value of gold was very high at the moment, and that would certainly factor in. You could see the two guests take a quiet, hopeful breath. Maybe this was worth more than that nice dinner out. Susan decided to ease them in. She started with the smaller items. Each of the nose rings, she began, pausing just for a second, are worth between £700 and £1,000. Each. The reaction was instantaneous. It was the sound of two people's brains completely short-circuiting. What? The word wasn't a question, it was a gasp. One of the women, her eyes as wide as saucers, instinctively reached out and grabbed her relative's arm, as if to anchor herself to reality. And then it happened. The shock was too much. She doubled over, her hand flying to her mouth, completely overwhelmed. She wasn't just surprised, she was physically reeling. In her state of disbelief, she started to waver, literally staggering in and out of the camera's view, laughing a high-pitched, breathless laugh that was half joy, half panic. This is the moment that makes this story so wonderfully human. As she processed the fact that 2 nose rings were worth a couple of £1,000s, her first instinct kicked in. It wasn't greed, it wasn't celebration, it was politeness. She quickly turned, while still bent over, to the crew operating the cameras. "Sorry," she gasped, apologizing for her completely genuine, unfiltered, and utterly brilliant reaction. She was apologizing for having the exact moment of television gold that the show exists to capture. The expert, the crew, and everyone at home just fell in love with her. It was the most British, most endearing, and most roadshow moment imaginable. The pair, still in a daze, kept quizzing the expert, their voices cracking. Really, really? They were still trying to process the value of the nose rings. They were still trying to recover from the apology. They had absolutely no idea what was coming next. Susan Rumfit, smiling gently, still had the main event to get to. However, she continued, I still have to offer up a valuation for the necklace and the earrings. You can imagine the look on their